Yes, sir. What's going on, everybody? You are now tuning into On Second Thought with your host, Ayo Shokai. This show is dedicated to my teammate, Mamadou and Yahe and his family. Welcome once again, everybody, to On Second Thought, the Rural Arts and Justice podcast. And my next guest is someone I would say he's extremely special to me. I actually met him when I was 16. Ever since then, he's been helping me stay locked in, stay focused. He's been there with me every step of the way, just making sure I got my head on straight, not doing anything crazy. Uh, Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Quentin Martin.
What's going on, man? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, bro. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I can't complain too much, man. Just
That's
happy to
good.
be.
That's good. That's good. Hey, yo, I really appreciate you being on this show, taking time out your day to sit here and chop it up and let the viewers listen.
Yeah, man. Definitely, man. Anything for you, family. So, anytime my phone rings and family calls, that's nothing. I always have time for family.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. How's COVID been back home? Have you been able to get in the gym?
Recently, so since September, we were able to get into the gym and like lift. Up until last month, we were able to play ball. So we're getting back to kind of normalities of what normal life used to look like. That little 6 month period was tough though, because not to be able to do it from March to September was tough. But I'm happy to be back.
All right, that's good. The kids was cooking you on the court?
Come on, like I don't want your listeners to get any kind of wrong impression. I'm a walking bucket. I'm a mismatch, a
Yes,
problem.
sir.
I have to
Yes,
double.
sir.
Yeah, so don't do that. Nobody ever cook me. Like if anybody's doing cooking, I show up with a chef hat. So we're not gonna do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, I mean, I know you personally, and not a lot of people know you that well. So, just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do.
I will tell a long, short story about who I am. So my name is Quentin Martin, and generally speaking, I am a career C student that somehow manifests as a career into investment banking. So like IO, I played basketball in high school. I set some records. I was all state, parade all American, to get a Division I scholarship. Got to college, and my world changed because I was exposed to more things than just basketball, and went from being a C student to a dean's list student, and that opened more doors for me, and more realities. And so from there, I was able to kind of manifest my way into an internship that for me was life changing, but at the moment was something that was just different to me. So I was attracted to doing different things, Wall Street, and that really started to shape my career. And I had the pleasure of working for companies like Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, MUFG Securities, and now Wells Fargo. And so, start my career in private wealth management gave me a finite perspective of what the world looks like from a money management standpoint, and transitioning to investment banking gave me a real definition of what the definition of money was, right? And a real idea of how being a high school athlete who only had the ambitions of playing in the NBA overseas, to being a college student who still had those same ambitions, to being a college student who wanted to then transition into finance, and was kind of told by everybody that it wasn't going to work out for me. I should just stick with basketball. And so I didn't listen to him, of course, because I always believed in myself first. And that really enabled me to take on some adventures and really get some life experience. Like I said, career C student through middle school, and that landscape, because I was never stupid, I was just lazy. And basketball, as much as it taught me, was also a safety tool. Learning that I had built that skill set for life changed the dynamic in my life. Skills that I've learned in basketball that I honed for years in the workforce and in my everyday life, and that changed a lot, efficiency, and I was really able to manifest a different life than I thought I'd be living right now. So that's kind of like my long, short story about who I am, from a basketball head to, investment banking.
Wow. Wow. Uh, talk about. I know that you tell me all the time. That was a long short story, but you always tell me all the small details along that journey to get into where you at right now. So, what's actually a piece of advice you would tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self, a closed mind is the most expensive thing you can have, right? And I kind of always say that because for a good portion of my life, I wasn't open minded, right? Because basketball seemed to be the only lane I wanted to take. Experiences and memories by just focusing on basketball. I created opportunities and memories is really the key to changing things in people's lives. So I would tell my younger self that, a closed mind is the most expensive thing that you have on your body, and to keep an open mind because an open mind creates a network, always a great thing.
You mentioned sports earlier. I actually met you through sports. We were actually playing basketball one day, and I was giving him the business. I was giving him the business. He's not even cracking a smile.
You shouldn't lie.
No, but after the game, I talked to him, and I guess from that point, he could see how important sports were to me. So, you spoke about sports and all your achievements and accolades. What you think what you think is is um is really like a main factor to why sports is so big and so important for the African American community.
All right, we gotta go back first. So I was cooking. This young man said, "I want to guard him," and then he proceeded to get cooked because he didn't realize how real it can get. And then he said to me, he was like, "Did you play in college?" I said, "Yeah, I played in college. I played D1." And he said to me, "I want to play in college." And I said to him, "I said I can help you play in college. I can show you and teach you everything I know, so you don't make the same mistakes I made." But he got cooked. Let's make sure it's not edited out. There was a lot of cooking here, mellow work, right? But to answer your quite African American community, and you start to think about and digest across the country the systemic oppression that people of color face, and then you start to think about the wealth gap that people of color face, and you start thinking about sports. Sports becomes a way out, becomes a way to change your future, the generations that come after you, the people around you, right? So we tend to view sports as an end all be all because that is one of the quickest ways to wealth. A 10 or 15-year career, add in, 10 years or whatever, however many years of school, you're looking at 20, 25 years to get to wealth. Whereas I can get to wealth at 19 or 20 by having, a skill set. It becomes way more attractive, right? And people buy lottery tickets every day with this really small chance of winning, right? For the hope that they might win. And so I think that a lot of times sports for us is a form of hope. It's a form that we hope that we're able to get a free education. We hope that we're able to anyway. So I think for us as a people, especially African American people, it's a sign of hope. And you add in competitive nature, you infuse some money, you infuse some sponsorships, some brands, and you have a jambalaya or a gumbo of a bunch of different ingredients, right, that make it what it is. So I think that the economic plight um, plays a very large portion into why sports matter so much to people of color.
Wow, that's great. That's a really good answer, and just looking at both of our experiences, sports sports was really a big outlet for for the both of us, and like you said, that competitive nature. I feel like I try to apply that competitive nature towards different things. You talked about skill set. I feel like I take that from I feel like I learned that competitive nature, grab that competitive spirit, and I could try to apply it in different areas of my life. And I know you've seen everything that happened this summer, players playing in the bubble, the rioting, the looting, protesting. Um, why do you think pushing this initiative through sports is so important?
I think because social media has changed the way that we interact with each other. So if you think about 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't social media, right? And so players didn't have the visibility that it was. You didn't really know what their voice was, right? Or what they thought, or what their political views were, or what their social economical views are. And so with the infusion of social media into our society, it's brought an extra layer of visibility to athletes, right? Entertainers, actors, however you want to say it, people of notoriety have an extra set of eyes on them at 24 hours, 7 days a week. And so when you think about how big basketball is or sports is, and you think about globally, right? Think forget the US for a second, think about China and India, places that have billions of people, and Europe, a big hot topic issue because players make enough money that they're not beholden to sponsorships. You look at the 80s, players they needed sponsorships, right? So you may have kept your views to yourself because you need that check from Nike or Adidas or whoever it was, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. In today's day and age, these guys make enough money where sponsorships isn't something that can sway them, right? And those checks are guaranteed. So they're going to speak their mind because the platform is bigger, the visibility is bigger, and they've experienced a lot. Also, think about it like this: a lot of these things we see today were happening in the 80s and 90s. We just didn't have cameras recorded. And so now that we have
Right.
cameras recorded and we have athletes who have experienced some of these things that we see on camera, it becomes personal. And because some of these guys can't be bought from a monetary standpoint, they're going to use their platforms to voice their opinions and discretions, as they please, right? And that's the beauty of the progression of the NBA and why it's probably to me the top sports league because the players kind of run the league. But walk LeBron James, Jalen Brown, Malcolm Brogdon, they're able to go march, protest, speak their mind, and there's no ramifications for that, right? And so I think that that plays a really big part, and that's why it comes through sports because there's visibility there, and when there's visibility there and there's a message, it's not just their right to play basketball, but it's their right to get that message across.
I feel like I agree with you. I feel like this is huge too, because not only are they taking a stand for today, they taking a stand for generations to come. Different players could follow in their footsteps, and like LeBron James always says, he's more than an athlete. So using that platform is really big, and he's even branching out his voice for people who are non-athletes and people who face discrimination all the time.
Yeah.
Um, Back to the hoops, man. So, what are some valuable things, valuable lessons that the game of basketball taught you that stick with you forever?
I think for me, like I've always been competitive, right? So and you know that I'm like probably the most competitive person you know, honestly. I uber competitive, right?
He's not lying. He's not lying.
Everybody
He's
says,
not
right? That's
lying.
how I'm built. I love to compete. I love it, right? I think basketball teaches you a lot about yourself because it's about a team, right? So do you want the team to win or do you want to accomplish your goals? Or can you accomplish your goals? So you learn about, your discipline as a player on and off the court, whether it's your diet, your time you practice, your sleep, right? So you learn discipline. You learn what you're passionate about, right? Or if you're just passionate about offense and you don't play no defense, you're not going to play. So you have to learn how to spread your passion out. And obviously, there's going to be different levels of passion. I may be more passionate playing offense, but I have to have a passion for playing defense because without playing defense, I can't play offense, right? They feed each other in a sense. So I would say, that's definitely, and the last part is like determination, right? Like when you have goals, you have to be determined because there's going to be barriers to entry, right? There's going to be hurdles, there's going to be things blocking your way. And so those three things stick out to me because, for me, discipline on a daily basis with my schedule now in finance, I have to be very disciplined in my 24 hours a day. I don't have that much free time, right? And I have to have passion. I like making money. That's dope, and I like what I do for a living. But my passion lies in helping people, right? So the more I can do at work, the more I can help people. And so, it plays into that, and then determination, right? There's a lot of things where I can say, all right, I work for 14 hours. I don't have to go to the gym. I can just sit up and watch the game. But I'm determined to make sure I stay in shape and that my mind and my body are both the sharpest tools in the shed. And so I think those three things from basketball really taught me, because to get a Division I scholarship, I think that's less than 2% of all kids that play high school basketball, right? And so it's like, to play at that level, 365 Division I schools, 12 people, right? You do the math, and then you have determination. You're not going to make it. You have to be competitive, right? You have to have some of these things, or like, go sit on the sidelines. And nothing in life is guaranteed. So those principles in ball, from an everyday standpoint, whether it's doing drills, scrimmaging, working on my game by myself, if you don't carry those with you, they're not going to carry over. And if you have a bad practice, it usually carries over to the game, right? So how you practice is how you play, and that's the same thing in life. Your habits are what form your days, and your days and your months form your years, right? And every little bit counts. And so I look at it like that, where at every moment there's an opportunity to get better, and it's opportunity for me to make sure I'm practicing the right habits, and in adding those things we spoke about into my day, or incorporating them daily, and making sure that they're there, is really the three things that stick out to me as far as what basketball has taught me.
Would you say you took habits serious while you were in college or once you graduated?
Like life, like through middle school, high school, college, I think that I refined, right? So if you look at guys, for example, that go from high school to college to the NBA, or just even high school to the NBA, it's not that they're not talented, right? You have to continually refine your skill set. Some guys will continually get better in the NBA. Why? Because they're constantly refining the game. Hey, you don't have a post game. All summer they work on a post. Hey, you can't shoot. All summer they're shooting. So they're constantly refining and retuning their process. Other guys get, "Cool, I made $100 million. I don't want to refine anything." And that's fine, right? But for me, I've always been process oriented. I haven't always been efficient, and I haven't always been so concerned with refining my process. So I think the older I got, the more mature I've gotten. It's more about refining the process, because I know that the everyday process there, like the pieces are there, the ingredients are there to make the meal. It's about like not putting too much salt in, right? And just right amount of pepper. So I'm always looking at how I can refine my process, do different things. How can I tweak them to make them better? How can I be more understanding? Right. And it's a full-time job, right? Outside of everything else, is you're constantly critiquing and refining, because those small critiques and refines what creates more time. Right. If I get more efficient, I build a extra hour of my day. Well, that's the extra hour to learn something. That's the extra hour of family time. That's the extra hour just me watching basketball. Right. But that doesn't come without me refining my process. So I think that's where it really comes down to, is that you have to take a look at your everyday habits, take a look at, figure that part out, and then from there, continue to tweak it based on how life goes. So that way you're in the best situation on a daily basis. And that's how I've always looked at it. I just wasn't efficient and refined. I always had a process, but it wasn't the best process. And that's really the goal, right? Is to figure out what the best process is.
Yo, that's big. That's really big. That's actually the first time I've ever even heard anybody say process oriented. I hear a lot of people say I'm so goal oriented, like they're so focused on getting to the end that they don't even think about the process. That process
Yeah.
is so important.
When you think about it, right? Like most people just want to get from point A to point B. And they leave so many gems on the floor on the way there, because you learn more about yourself in the process or journey too than you do at the destination. The destination is only confirmation of what you learned. So if you speed walk from point A to point B, and you don't learn anything. When you get to the destination, that's confirmation because you don't know more than what you knew when you left. But if you're picking up gyms and enjoying that journey, whether it how difficult or it is, whether it's super difficult or whether it's a something light, you have to enjoy it, right? I kind of look at airplanes. People will hop on a flight, right? They really can't afford it, but they'll hop on a $99 flight to Miami. They'll stay at the top of Biscayne, take a Uber to South Beach, take pictures, put it on Instagram. Yo, we got a popping on South Beach. That wasn't your weekend, right? And on top of that, you didn't have the funds to do that. So now you set yourself back even more because you done spent $400 or $500 that you didn't have just for some likes, right? And they didn't enjoy the journey because Miami. Then why not go work, save your money up, do it the right way, and really go and experience Miami and go to all the places? Why do that? It's because you're more in love with the destination than you are the journey. And I always want to have the best journey possible because at the end of that journey, the destination is only going to confirm what I learned in that journey or how much I enjoyed that journey, right? And that's kind of how I got to be process oriented and not so much goal oriented.
That was crazy. That was you just dropped the gem right there, man. Um, back to your short long story in the beginning. You told us you're an average C student. Um, Now you're working in investment banking. So, just talk about your work. You talk about what you do, why you do it, and you know, things like that.
So I'll go back a little bit. I started my career in private wealth management, which is basically managing money of the everyday person. When I say everyday person, a human being, right? Like a person who's super wealthy. So maybe they have 10, 20, 30, $40 million, right? You manage their money. And I transitioned to corporate investment banking, which is in 1 billion, 2 billion, 5 billion. So the scale is different. And so when I began my career, I learned how to deal with people, and dealing with $10 million of people from an information standpoint is like selling a car, right? And then institutionally, when I'm dealing with corporate investment banking, I'm selling the engine. Same components, right? All together, the engine makes the car go, but the engine is a lot more intricate than the car, right? There's so many little pieces and screws. And so on an
Right.
everyday basis, there's no real format because my job, what's going on globally, right? So I went back to say, remember I said money, I know how money works, right? So it goes back to correlation. So a lot of what I do is having conversations, idea generation based on the information that's out there in the world, right? What's going on currently in the world? What are the hot topics? What are people talking about? How can we make money? How can we advise our clients on making money? What things can we tell them as or suggest that they do that will enable them to make money? So on a daily basis, it's constantly, again, back to it, refining the process, working amongst what we call merger and acquisition. So if a company wants to buy another company, we'll be involved in that and helping them figure out valuation. So if you wanted to buy my company, right, and another company will step in and say, okay, Io's company is worth $100 billion. Q's company is worth 50. All right, IO will give you 25, billion dollars in cash, and then another $25 billion in stock, whatever. We'll figure the deal out for the acquisition, right? We have IPOs, which are initial coming to the stock market. You have companies like myself that will help them get to the stock market. We'll find investors for them. We'll help raise capital so that way that they make a smooth transition. So that's part of it. And then we work with hedge funds. We work with other institutions on idea generation and stock trading. So there's different levels of stock trading. There is electronic stock trading where there's an algorithm that does it, right? So you have cash trading in which we help clients liquidate money. So if they have some stock they have a hard time getting rid of, we'll take the trade, right, come liquid, which is a good thing. We have regular stock trading. We have traders who just trade stock, right? And we have options. That's another form of stock. That's another form of an investment. So that's a derivative. And then we have analysts and different network events and conferences. So there's a lot of ways within corporate investment banking that we can get paid. It depends on what their environment is, right? What's going on? how can we add value to our clients on a daily basis? And so every day is a perspective, because maybe something's happening in China that affects our stock market. Maybe there's something that's happening in India. Maybe there's something happening here. And when you look at companies, a lot of times these companies are global brands. They're not just here in America. And so you have to take off your domestic hat and put on your international hat. And every day I'm looking at what's going on internationally. When we get off this call, I'll take a look and see what's going on in the Asian stock market, because right now the Japanese and Chinese stock markets are open. I'll see how they're trading to get an idea of what tomorrow looks like for us. Job or profession is really critically thinking on the fly on a daily basis.
Wow. You work extremely hard. Um, you just gave us a quick rundown of what you do, but I know people probably still don't even understand the half of it.
My mom don't know what I do for a living. I tell her, I explain to her all the time. Like, yo, I do. She's like, what do you do again? Um, it's a lot. It's a lot simpler than it is complex to a certain extent, right? But for the everyday person, like what do you do? Like, I do a lot,
Yeah,
and it's a lot of job.
yeah. Man, what's the best part about your job?
For me personally, so personally, my best part of my job is that no day is the same. Every day is different. You don't
Wow.
know what the day, like most people have jobs where like they have the same thing over and over again. They get tired of it. I don't know what tomorrow's gonna happen. Tomorrow could be super busy, it could be super chill, it could be who knows, right? That's the fun part. And then the second part is because, like we talked about prior, the lack really works, the lack of information about really how you're supposed to kind of spend your money or stack your money, however you want to slice it. I'm able to give this information back to people who look like me for free, right? And to me, that's the best part, because I'm able to have conversations and be a resource for my people and help change mindsets and shift cultures and shift families and generations by just giving out information that really should be obtainable, but it's not unless you know where to look for it. So for me, those two things, right? Learning and being able to relay the information that I know in my head to people who look like me are my favorite parts of my job. Because those are things I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about critically thinking, and I'm passionate about sharing information and making sure that everybody around me is well equipped to take on the world, any facet of life. And so that's a real big thing for me.
You definitely make sure I'm well equipped every single day. And again, I appreciate you for that. Even the people listening don't even know the half. Um, you talk about your job every day is different. If every day is different, how do those habits help you stay on track?
Because you look at the process, right? Like, so being organized or efficient, it's like you don't know what's going to be thrown at you. So if your process isn't efficient, or if you're not organized, or you don't know where to get something from in a fast manner, okay, I need this cue. All right, I have it in a folder, so I can get like this. If I don't have it in a folder, I have to now go look for it. So that might take me 5 minutes, right? And so now it's say 12 things, and the 12 things take me 5 minutes. How much time did I spend? It's an hour, right?
Right.
But if I have those things in the folder, I have a process, and it takes me 1 minute, I spent 12 minutes. I still have 48 other minutes, right? Those are the things that really help you, because you don't know what you're gonna come up against. But the difference between spending a minute on a task and 5 minutes on a task, when you're tasked in your day, right? And everything can't be solved in a minute, but like if it's something simple where it's like, oh, I need this, and I have it organized, that's a minute. I save myself 4 or 5 minutes. Every time I do that, I create more time. So that allows me to kind of put time in a bank. And depending on how that day goes, whether I need to use that time for extra work, whether I need to use that time for my personal time, whether I want to chill and watch sports, whether I need to help somebody, whether I have something on my schedule, so I have to be efficient because I have an obligation outside of work, that is up to me, right? I own that. And that's really what kind of helps me in every day, not knowing, because I have processes in place, whether it's like folders, organizations, my calendar. I kind of can forecast what's ahead, and say, okay, I know I have 5 meetings. How those 5 meetings are gonna go, I do not know, but I know I have 5 meetings and I can
Yeah.
prepare for those 5 meetings and say, okay, I have time from here to here. And now it's about being efficient in those pockets of time and not wasting time because I know I have 5 meetings. So again, just being aware of what's ahead and attack that on a daily basis. I can't guarantee the outcome. I can
Mm.
only guarantee the preparation.
Wow. Wow, that's big. One thing you always preach to me is about legacy. Just talk about legacy. What is that? What is a legacy, and why is it important for people to have legacy, especially men and women of color?
So I think right. So I live by a mantra: how you made them feel, how you smelled, and how you looked. Everybody remembers the smell you from high school. Like you went to,
Yeah,
right? And people
that
remember
was you.
that wasn't me. We know that was you. I'm not gonna out you on your own podcast. But so when you think about legacy, right? For me, I think legacy holds two different definitions. One, what's your name worth? When we think about names like Rockefeller, like JP Morgan, we think about Nike, Phil Nike, those names have value, right? What's your name worth? It depicts the value of your name. And so that's whether it's a monetary value for your family and people that are here when you're not here, or a value just as far as social equity. When someone says your name in a room and you're no longer here, what is the response from the people in the room? Where they're like, I never liked him anyway. Like he smelled whatever. And they talk, because people are going to talk about you how they feel when you're not here. They might see you and be nice to you and be like, yo, what, my man, blah, blah, blah. But when you're not here, when you think about the people that we still talk about, the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X, the Mahatma Gandhis, the Rosa Parks, they weren't wealthy people. They made people feel. Their legacy was built on who they were, what they stood for, right? And their names have value. Somebody walks into a building right now, it's not Martin Luther King Jr. Jr. or whoever, that name holds value everywhere in this world. It's acknowledged. And so for me, legacy matters for that reason, because at the end of the day, I'm planting seeds for fruit from. So I'm tending to soil that, at the end of the day, I'll never bear fruit from that tree, but that tree matters because that tree is my legacy. And the people who do bear that fruit, it needs to be fresh fruit, right? And the only way to make it sure it's fresh fruit is by making sure that, again, like for me personally, that I always treat people good, I look good, and I smell good, and my name means something based on the work that I put in and the people that I've helped, right? So second part, that's helping people. Rich people die every day. No one says, "Ah, man, he died, but I love his McLaren. He has such a nice McLaren." They're gonna talk
Right.
about the people, right? And if you have a lot of money and you didn't impact anybody, and you just have a lot of material things to show for it, then you didn't live a life that was full, right? And so the second part of that is really is helping people and pulling people up, right? So my mantra when it comes to that is you have to reach back to pull forward, right? And the idea is that if I reach back and I pull everybody forward, that means they're in front of me, which means that when I walk in the room, I stand the most to gain because I put everybody in front of me. I now go from being the smartest guy in the room to the dumbest person in the room. And I have the most, so people remember that. And so helping people, we talk about, you talk about Harriet Tubman. She didn't have to go back and free slaves. Like she
Right.
didn't have to do that.
Right.
She went back because she wanted to help people. That's why she's going to be in the $20 bill. That's why we still talk about her, right? So you think about people who help people, it's like that's why. It's because you don't have to. Somebody who has an abundance of wealth, that's not your money. But if they're going to take time to be able to change lives and give back on a monetary basis, and that changes it than the person who just got money and said, I'm going to live over here, enjoy my life, and whatever happens, y'all happens, y'all. So for me, it comes down to those three things, right? What's your name worth? And how many people did you help and lives you affected? And that's why legacy matters. And in our community, to tie it all back in, is that we need that, because without that, we can't grow. We need all the doctors to go back to the impoverished areas to show kids that they can be doctors. We need all of the lawyers to go back to areas that maybe aren't so nice to show kids, hey, you can be a lawyer. Why? Because they can touch it, they can feel it, it becomes tangible. That's helping. We need the teachers. We need everybody to be able to give back and give something, and those legacies matter. Whether it's a guidance counselor, a professor, legacies matter, and you see that everywhere you go. So for me, those things are near and dear to my heart because I understand that when I'm not here anymore, I don't get to tell my story. The people I helped, the people I affected, how I treated people, how I presented myself are going to be the story that's told. And so those are hardened facts. And like it is what it is when it comes to that.
Wow, man, that's super important. Um, I personally feel like that was actually one of the biggest takeaways from this episode. Thank you for sharing that. But I know in order to build a legacy, you gotta invest in yourself. So talk a little bit about investing in yourself. How people can do it. Why is it so important? Things of that nature.
I mean, I think honestly, you got to think about, right? Like every day, when you go to bed at night, are you a better version of you? And what does that look like, right? Like we always invest in everybody else, every other thing, whether it's materialistic or maybe going to a party or doing different things, right? So it's like, are you in school? You can go to the party, or you can do some homework, or you can study for a test, right? Going to a party is a lot more fun. It's music, girls there, a lot more fun. But the best decision for yourself to invest at that moment may be to stay in your dorm room and do your homework. That's investing. Investing is tough, right? You have to make, and you're investing in the work staff, right? And then it's like, okay, we have to fire people. Well, who do we fire? And why do we have to fire them? Well, because we have too much overhead. We have to figure out who to cut. That's a tough conversation. Who wants to send people home, right? But they're investing in themselves as a company. They figure, okay, we have to get rid of people. Investing is built on tough decisions. And usually the decision that you make from the investing point, whether you're personally investing, right, in like a portfolio for yourself. So that means instead of going to the bar or going to buy clothes, you take money, you put it in an account and you invest it. That's for yourself. Or whether to get ready for this midterm. And I know it's more important for me to get an A on this midterm to be at that than be at that party. You're investing in yourself, right? And so those are the things that you have to make decisions on every day, because everything that you do is an investment in you, whether it's your diet and the food you intake, how you carry yourself, the words you use when you talk to people, how you make people feel, how you're viewed. Everything that you do is some level of social equity, and you're investing in yourself. You have to figure out at the end of the day, is my company worth more today, tonight, than it was in my life? And if I were to come up to you and say, hey, invest in me, give me $100,000, would I invest in myself presented with all the facts? And so I look at it from that standpoint, because that's the most realistic way I could kind of tell that story. Like, would you invest in you? And if the answer is no, then you have to go back and refine your process and figure out why you wouldn't invest in you.
Thanks for sharing that, man. I really appreciate that. Um, was actually an I don't you gave it all away. I couldn't even ask my next question. Um,
What you gonna ask?
I was gonna ask, what's an easy way to start today? Just what's an easy way to invest in yourself starting today?
I mean, just taking inventory, right? Like, look at your life. Like, look at where you are, what you want, how you're gonna get there, right? Like, it's not just about like I want to go from California to New York. Well, how are you gonna get there? Are you flying? Are you driving? Are you riding a bike? Are you walking? Oh, right. Gives you an idea on how long it's gonna take you to get there and your expectations for that journey, right? And so if you want to invest in yourself, take a look at what your goals are. What are your goals? Okay, my goals are do X, Y, and Z. Well, how am I gonna get there? All right, I'm gonna get here. And now that you have, I want to get from LA to New York, and I plan on taking an airplane. Okay, so how do you plan on affording a ticket, to buy, how are you gonna buy this ticket? I'm gonna sell sneakers outside this shop. Okay, well, how many sneakers take it, right? And then we're in sneakers from and every detail. Okay, well, I'm gonna get the sneakers from John because John's gonna sell me sneakers at $100, for 140. Okay, so how do you know John, right? And so when you think about it in that way, you want to start scaling down, 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 and figuring out exactly how the beginning works to the end. And so it's gonna take you to where you are, and then that path to where you want to be.
Wow. Um, what struggles did you face actually being a person of color in your profession? Because I know you talk about a journey, and you know, people that look like us, we always get hit with some type of adversity. So, what struggles did you face in your profession? How far did you come? Like, and you talked about legacy, so I know you want to push it even further. So, what's it gonna take?
I mean, think about this, right? Is this kind of standard? As a person of color, you have to work 10 than somebody who's not a color. That's just kind of what it is in America. Whether it's wants to be acknowledged or not, that's just kind of the gold standard, right? So the biggest thing I faced struggle wise was my confidence because I'm in a room with people who don't look like me. And though I know I'm intelligent, I feel I'm very intelligent. I used to second guess myself a lot when it comes to, talking about, finance or stocks or different things because I'm like, oh well, these guys have been talking about it for so long. And my confidence was shaking, right? I wasn't as confident as I would be talking to my friends or other people confidence because it really held me back as far as really showcasing the talent and my own brilliance, right? Not to be like self-centered, but like, I put the work in, I study the game. And it's like you have to shoot the ball. And so for me, not only having to work 10 times harder, but gaining the confidence over the years to be confident in who I am, be confident in my skill set, be confident in my knowledge, to be able to, speak it, live it every day, was really, really big for me. And more doors opened up, more opportunities opened up, right? And it's actually funny because legacy is one of the things that helped my confidence. I'm like, oh, I can't, if I don't have confidence, it's going to affect my legacy. And so knowing that, I'm like, well, I have to have confidence, right? So shooters shoot or closed mouth don't get fed. And so I was able to take, I won't say my fear, but take my I want to say like I guess I with what was holding me back and I was able to turn it into a strength, right? So take that negative and turn it into a positive and then have a why behind it. And the why was my legacy. Because I knew that for me to push on or even to bring somebody in, I need to be confident. I need to get to this level so I can allow myself to put other people on, right? And who's gonna follow somebody who's not confident? Right? It just doesn't make sense. And so for me, that was a really big sticking point. And I continue to work on it. And to this day, I still work on my confidence, still work on my game every day, financially, verbally, working on, whether it's clients, my friends, my family, if I'm speaking on a platform, really being able to convey my thoughts in an efficient manner that people are able to digest because sometimes these words and jargon go over heads. So, that was really big for me. Um, and, from a legacy standpoint, it's like every day you're building, right? You're putting the brick down. And so, again, I look at like every season, every year to me is a new season. What does Q have to work on this season, right? Q, okay, so I worked on my confidence, right? So now where's Q working on? Well, Q's working on his networking to make sure that the players around me are good, make sure that I'm talking to the right people, I'm having the right conversations for my career. Okay, well, what's next after that? Next after that is Q needs a promotion because Q now has confidence in a network. So now the promotion's next, right? And I'm just building off of momentum. And that's what the legacies are built off of. They're built off of momentum, right? And once you build momentum, the biggest question is how do I sustain momentum? Because it
Wow.
then sustains momentum. But if I don't sustain it, it's going to go away. So you look at LeBron James, he came in the league like a big windstorm, right? He sustained momentum for 17 years. Why is that impressive? Well, because most guys can't sustain momentum for 5 years. So for a guy to come in and sustain momentum for 17 years is phenomenal. So for me, I want to sustain my momentum that I've gained because I've gained more confident. I got a better network. I'm in line for a promotion, right? I want to sustain that. I want to bottle that up and keep that energy. That way I can continue to feed off of it moving forward.
Wow, that's great. Um, as a black man in this society, how do you not lose yourself?
Oh, you gotta stay true to yourself, dog. Like this is the thing. You know me, fam. I'm gonna be me. Like, listen, I'm not trading myself for money. You have to know who you are. Self identification is very important. The
Yeah.
biggest promise I made to myself coming into the game, because I came into the game when the market crashed. So I started at the bottom, right? So I started at the
Wow.
absolute bottom of the industry because I was working on an intern salary when I came in to start working because the market had crashed in '08. And so the one promise I made to look back and say, who am I? I'm always going to self identify and be myself. If nothing else, I'll always be me. And that's what makes me special. It costs a lot more money to be somebody else. It's free to be yourself. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to win, lose, or draw on being me rather than trying to fit my mold into somebody else's form of what they think I should be. Right. And that started when I stopped playing basketball to work on Wall Street. Well, why don't you go overseas? Well, because I want to work on Wall Street. Oh, that's stupid. Well, you mean to tell me that you want me to go play for however long and then come back and not have a resume? I don't fit your confident in me. I'm going to go do this. So it started back then when I was like, yo, my legacy is not going to be just basketball. I'm going to figure out a way to make my legacy matter. And I'm not going to fit the mold that people tell me I need to fit. I'm going to fit the mold that I create for myself.
Wow.
And so, that's really, you stay true to yourself. Like people gravitate towards that, right? They gravitate towards you being you. Like I'm me. Like there's no difference whether you see me in the streets or you see me on Zoom, you see me whatever. It's like, yo, I'm the same person, and people gravitate towards that because they know it's real. They know that I'm not out here pump faking, or I'm not out here being something I'm not. You see me on a platform or you see me talk, like that realness, and that gets you into more doors than faking the funk and trying to be something you're not.
Wow, man, I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate that. And from personal experience, you've been the same person, same dude, same hardworking individual. You know, you never changed, never switched. So, I'm just grateful for that. I'm grateful for you just helping me out every single day. I tell you my story, you know where I come from. So I'm just so thankful that you take time out of your days, valuable time. You so focused on everything else. The viewers heard what you do for a living. So you taking your time out of your day to make sure I'm good, and you never stop. I'm so grateful. Um, I'm just so thankful, man, and I'm just so thankful, man. That's all I can say. I really appreciate you. What's one last thing you want to tell the people, man?
Yeah.
What's up?
One, you can't guard me.
Yo,
That's the
don't listen to that. Don't listen to that comment, yeah. Don't
nah.
listen to
Listen,
that
bro.
comment, yeah.
Since day one, he can't guard me. Nah, but since day one, man, you've been family, bro. Like I'm proud of your progression, where you come from to where you're going, and so it's like to see your journey is dope because at the end of the day, it's a lot like my journey. I'm still going, and so it's like fire to be able to have those conversations and be able to give you the knowledge that I didn't have at your age, right? Be able to tell you certain things. You don't have to go through certain potholes become right. And people always say, well, what can I do to give back? And it's like, well, when you get in my shoes, then you reach back to pull forward. Right. And that's like the dopest part about life is that there was people in my life that helped me. Right. And if I had a little more help here, maybe I did better. If I had a little more guidance here, I do better. But the best thing I can do is pass that forward. Right. And then you're always like, yo, what can I do? I'm like, well, just continue to be a good person. And when it's your turn, make sure that you don't forget who you are and you remain humble, you remain present in the moment so you can give the next person the opportunity and those gems so that you're in a better situation than I am at my age, right? And I'm in a pretty good situation. So the bar is high in this certain sense, right? But it's not it's not something that you can't do. The idea of it is that if I have these gyms, I'm not going to sit here and just keep them in my pocket. And that's like the dope part about like life is like you connect with people. Like you've been family since I met you, and so it's dope to see your progression because I'm giving you the gyms, but you're not just stepping over them. You're taking the gyms and you're applying the life and half looks like, and excited to see your growth as a person, as a man. So it's been fire on my end too to be able to see like how much you've matured, how you've been able to take your game, whether it's on the court, the classroom, and life to the next level. So it's humbling on both sides. It's always a two-way street. Like people sometimes forget that part. Like, yeah, we have the same 24 hours, right? So if I reach out to you, you don't have to answer the phone. You can be like, yo, I'm ignorant. But so you answering the phone and allowing me to pass the gyms on allow you too. It's not just a one-way street. Or always remember that these things work two ways as far as transfer energy.
All right. And we're gonna close on that. Once again, I just want to say thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate it, man. And I'm gonna see you on the court this summer, bro.
I don't think you want to see me on the court, but listen, man, I appreciate you having me on your platform. I appreciate the time and people taking time out of their day to listen to me and my thoughts. And when you get back, you probably shouldn't come to the court, but if you do, know.
All right, bro. All right, bro. Love you, bro.
I love you, bro.
All right.